This is a short floor-based session designed to help strengthen the core and the back, which will particularly help you with posture, which may help if you're doing some chair-based strengthening exercises where you need to keep your back away from the back of the chair. You will need some resistance bands. 2 would be great, 1 is fine. They can either be ones that are designed as a loop, and you can get them in differing strengths, so that's much looser than this blue one, which is harder to pull, or you can get these long ones, which are great for arm work, or they're great for lots of things. If you have one, it would be great if you could get an exercise ball, a small exercise ball, a light football, small child's football would kind of work, or a cushion folded up a lot and maybe tied together with a dressing gown strap. But this is not necessary. But if you have something that gives a little resistance when pressed, but does have a little mobility to it. And you may also, if you happen to have some light weights, find those valuable for one of the practices. Essentially, you can do it all without any of these things, but it's better to have them so that you can begin to add some more resistance as you do the video a number of times. But we'll begin without any props, and I'll hopefully be showing you enough of how to find those moments where you could choose to add them or choose to take them away, given what supplies you have, but also how your energy is on any given day. So starting on your back on the floor, these short practices assume that you have done a little warm up, but I don't want to dive you straight into a practice without any warm up at all, but this will be very small. Just take your feet off the floor, give them a little hug, just to round out the lower back a little bit, and do a little rocking side to side. So it's like you're just massaging your lower back on the floor. Come back to center. If you don't have osteoporosis of the spine, you could try lifting your head up, but if that strains your neck, it means your core isn't strong enough yet to lift the weight of your head. So maybe keep your head down if that strains your neck, or indeed if it hurts your lower back. And then rolling back down onto the floor, we're going to take one foot and then the other onto the floor and stretch long. And just allow yourself to extend from top to bottom. So think much less really of that word that I shouldn't have used, stretch, much less about stretch and more about lengthening really and resting long. You can rest a little longer on the right side, just those right limbs reaching a little more towards the 2 walls at your feet and your hand, and then the left limbs can lengthen a little bit. And then taking your knees bent, take your arms out wide. If you've osteoporosis of the spine, please avoid this next movement. If you don't, take your feet off the floor, bring your 2 knees to the floor on the right for a nice deep spinal twist. If that hurts your sacroiliac joints there at the back or your hips at all, just tuck that right hip under a bit more and then bring the knees down to the right so that those 2 hips are stacked one above another. That will just help to reduce the potential for injury in the lower back. You can stay longer in any of these little warm-up parts the next time you do this video. Come back to center now and then take the pelvis back to center, or possibly even a little to the left before you lift your feet and bring your 2 knees to the floor on the left. You can more easily see what I'm talking about that vertical stacking of the hips here being safer for the sacroiliac joints. If your hip is a little more to the left, your right hip will be tipping backwards towards the floor, and that puts a bit of pressure on the sacroiliac joints. So trying to get that vertical stacking right hip above left in this circumstance. And then back to center, and we'll finish our very brief warm up with a little back bend. So taking your 2 feet onto the floor, hips width apart approximately, knees bent, arms down by your sides. Inhale, engage your pelvic floor and your buttocks, press your feet down into the floor and just lift off an inch or so. And if that feels okay for you, you can go higher. If it doesn't feel okay, you might need to go down and up a few times just to get your body used to the idea, but eventually coming up to a straight line between your knees and shoulders. And then we're going to arch the spine a little by lifting the chest. Don't pull your chin down, but do lift your chest, and then push with your feet to bring your chest up towards your chin. Coming slowly down, you'll notice that already strengthened your back, and we're going to go on with that theme now for a sec. So bringing your hands onto your pelvis. If that lift up was okay for you, you're going to press down into the right foot and the left shoulder blade as you exhale. slightly forcefully with a shh sound. Then you're going to press the left foot and the right shoulder blade straight down, exhaling forcefully. Shh. Not as forcefully as you might do if you were really, really exhausted. An intentional exhale. Right foot, left shoulder blade. Shh. Brief inhale to change sides. Left foot, right shoulder blade. Shh. You'll notice your pelvic floor is engaging. We're going to get the buttocks engaging. Inhale here. Press down 2 feet and push your pelvis up into your hands down into your pelvis. Shh. Inhale to relax. Exhale, push down through the hands, up through the pelvis. Engage pelvic floor and buttocks. Shh. Inhale here, relaxing. Exhale, press through your feet, press down through your hands and slowly lift your pelvis, and you're pushing up into your hands are pushing down, so it's more difficult than it might otherwise be. The weight of your hands. Here's a moment where on a different day you might choose to add dumbbells into your hands and hold the extra weight of the dumbbells above your pelvis. We're going to inhale here. Press down right foot, left shoulder blade. Shh. Inhale here. The strong diagonal strengthening of the back body, left foot, right shoulder blade. Shh. One more on each side. Reduce the downward pressure of your hands if necessary. Inhale. Exhale, right foot, left shoulder blade. Shh. Pressing straight down. Shh. Inhale here, relaxing. Exhale, engage the buttocks, pelvic floor, left foot, right shoulder blade. Shh. Press down through the hands if you want. Shh. Inhale back to neutral. Exhale, 5 pulses up into your hands, buttocks and pelvic floor engaged. Shh. Shh. Press down with the hands up through the hips. 2 more. Shh. Shh. Come slowly down, pressing down with your hands while pushing up with your hips, but this time the hands win. Nice and slow. Lots of strength involved. And when you get down, relax and breathe. We're going to take our long band, put it round the front of your pelvis, and try and land on it quite tightly with your arms here right by your sides. Your palms are down, your pelvis is wrapped by the band. Inhale here. Exhale, engage your buttocks and lift your pelvis, pushing against the band. If the band is slipping too much, i.e. that the arms can't hold it, take the band in your hands instead. Pull it right down to the floor until the band is strong. This will work your arms as well. Your hands are facing up, your thumbs are uppermost, your wrists are neutral. Try not to let the wrists collapse. Pull down through the band, very tricep strengthening, and we're going to pulse up through the hips and down through the hands. Shh. Inhaling, exhale. Shh. Inhaling, mind your pelvic floor is engaged. Exhale, hands down, hips up. Shh. Inhale, relax. Exhale, push down through the hands up to the hips. Shh. One more. Inhale, exhale, down through the hands up to the hips. Shh. Inhale to come slowly down and rest. Rest is as important as the activity. And that last thing that we did with the band, you can do that without the band. We're going to do some more without the bands, but then we'll add the bands to the same movement. This is for our core strength. So the first thing to notice is if I lift my foot, can I keep my pelvis neutral? If when I lift my foot, I press my lower back into the floor and collapse my belly and it crumples, and the knee needs to come up here closer to my chest, then maybe my core strength doesn't allow that. And I need to begin these movements with my feet on the floor, then progress to toes on the floor. If you are, however, able to take one foot off the floor and have a vertical thigh and a horizontal shin, floint the foot, so it's not deeply flexed, not totally pointed, but flointed halfway between a flex and a point, will engage the muscles of your leg completely rather than just the front or the back. And if you can do that, and most people can't now with stability, If you can lift the other foot without the pelvis moving, you can do 2 feet at one time. So you're going to be either here with 2 legs up, slight gap between the lower back and the floor, enough to slide a piece of paper under, or you're doing it with 1 foot on the floor, 1 foot off, or you're doing it with 2 sets of toes on the floor, or 2 heels and feet completely flat on the floor. So whatever level you're managing, I'm going to try with 1 foot just to play with that for myself today, and you might change given on any given day. I'm going to inhale here, and as you exhale, push the right leg long, or the elevated leg long on a diagonal. And then we're going to do tiny little pulses up and down. Don't go too low. Don't go up here high either. You want to find a moment where you really feel the deep muscles of the core engaging, the psoas at the spine and the transverse abdominis. If your navel or your belly is doming up to the sky, then you're going too far and you need to bring that leg a little higher perhaps. So you want the belly not to be doming up to the sky when you do core work. You want to be able to keep the abdominal level the same as when you're lying flat and resting. And take that foot down, or keep the 2 legs up, and we're going to do the same on the left. So taking the left leg long, and this is where you can choose to use your band on any given day on both of these occasions with both the legs, or not do it at all, or just see how you're progressing. So I would hold the band very tight, and I would floint, push into the ball of the foot and do these little floats up and down. This is also helping me to strengthen my arms, and I can add to that by drawing the band up towards my chest as my leg goes down and releasing a little as the leg comes up. 5 of those. Stabilize the pelvic floor and the core. And then rest. We're going to put a circular band around our feet. And if you have weights, take them in your hands. This can be done without the bands and without the weights. I'm going to demonstrate with the props, but just drop them, not drop them, put them aside if you're finding the props are too much, and you can always add them in a week or 2 or 3 as you do this session again and again. 2 arms up to the ceiling, and either you're going to leave the legs on the floor, in which case the band is not of use to you, or if you've gotten to the point where you can lift the 2 feet off the floor with a stable pelvis, so notice the way I take the feet off the floor. I'm not just kind of bringing them up here, knees over my tummy. I'm taking them slowly up, and I'm really thinking about stabilizing my pelvis as I do. Maybe you do this without the arms and just with the legs, so that you have the hands to help you lift the feet. And then we imagine that we're crawling on the ceiling. We push through a leg and that arm goes forward. This way we're strengthening the back. As we work our arms, we're strengthening the back as well. So here we're strengthening core, legs, arms, and back. Pushing through that right foot, right arm. Pushing through the left foot, left arm. Go slow, slow and steady. Maybe you're exhaling on one side and inhaling on the other, or maybe you're pausing in the middle to inhale and exhaling slowly. Note, I'm not cycling up and down. I'm not legs vertical. It's very much keeping those shins as close as parallel to the floor as I can get, and avoiding bringing the knee too close to the chest. So it's smaller than you might imagine. If you want to work on different upper back strength, keep the legs going, turn the dumbbells to face each other, and we're going to inhale the elbows towards the floor, and exhale, bring them together, bring the dumbbells together. You can do this with bottles of water, bottles of oil, tins of beans, and you can do it without the weights, without the band. You might want to inhale as the elbows go down, because that's the natural movement of the rib cage. However, if you find when the elbows are going down that that's the hardest part for you, then you're better to do the harder part on the exhale, because you get more muscular engagement of your core on your exhale. Let's take the feet down and add one more possible arm movement. We're going to keep the arms here, vertical, and bring one hand down to the hip. Go slow and back up. Exhale, one hand down to the hip, Go slow, particularly at the end where it gets more effortful, and back up. And 2 hands down. Stabilize the core, pull the lower ribs into the spine and down towards the hips. The front lower ribs, don't let them flare. Inhale up, and we'll do it once more. Relax your jaw and forward, breathing. Exhale down. Keep the ribs down towards your hips, maybe come up on an exhale. Pause rather than on the inhale. And then let's even up the hips, the dumbbells, take them down, put them onto the floor to one side, 1 and 2. And lastly, take your little ball and bring it between your knees, resting your arms, resting your core. Squeeze the ball and relax. We're working the pelvic floor. Squeeze and relax. Exhale, squeeze, relax. Squeeze, relax. Squeeze, relax. And squeeze, relax. Take away your ball, kick off your bands, go out full length into what we call in yoga Shavasana. Legs wide and long, arms wide and resting palm up. Close your eyes and remember that the rest is where the strengthening is happening. The actual work, we're straining the muscles essentially, and now is when the strengthening and repair can occur. So I'd love you to stay here for 4 minutes, completely softening, relaxing your jaw, your eyes, feeling the delicious weight of your bones, resting, resting, resting. So stay there for another 2 or 3 minutes. And remember that when you do that kind of practice repeatedly, you can build up the number of or the resistance that you create by building up the strength of the bands, maybe the weight of the weights, but go really slowly so that you're not pushing to try and progress, because the more you push to try and progress with the air quotes, the more likely you are to damage yourself and then be unable to do what you want to do again. So do that practice maybe even for 2 months, building up your resistance capability before you look for more and different practices. That can just be part of your routine, not the whole thing. Hope you enjoyed.